BBC Two begins a new series about people with a passion to preserve.
We are Fred Carnot's army.
We were told to walk over. Walk.
He told us everything would be straightforward, nothing to stop us, all the wire would be cut, and it would be simply a walkthrough.
There'd be no opposition at all. And they had to go over without rushing, just go over slowly, take the time, as if they were going on a Sunday afternoon walk in a park.
The 1st of July 1916, the first day of the Battle of the Somme, was the greatest disaster in British military history. 57,470 men fell on the battlefield that day. 21,000 of them killed, mostly in the first hour, when they attacked heavily fortified German positions among the rolling agricultural land of Picardy in northern France. The blinds of bereavement were drawn in almost every terraced street of Britain's industrial towns. Nowhere were they more closely clustered than in the little town of Accrington, Lancashire, which lost almost 2/3 of its PALS battalion during that first terrible hour. The state of the nation during the First World War was in some ways similar to its condition today. Many young people were out of work. Those with jobs often worked long hours in dismal conditions for wages that barely kept them above poverty. Volunteering for the war meant an honorable escape, travel abroad, and a chance to have an adventure with your pals while being fed, clothed, and paid for it. The men who died on the Somme were part of the biggest volunteer army the world has ever seen. They had joined up to replace the heavy losses suffered by the regular army in the first year of the war. The appeal to form this new army was made by the Minister of War, Lord Kitchener, who expected to get perhaps 100,000 volunteers within 6 months. The response from the young men of Britain was unbelievable. 500,000 volunteered within the first month of Kitchener's appeal. The recruiting officers were crowded by men of all classes, enthused by a nationwide fervor of patriotism. The War Office could not cope, and many units had to train in civilian clothes using broom handles or walking sticks as rifles.
And I tried to join. I went up to Scotland Yard to try to get in, because there's no way we could get anywhere near the recruiting officers. There were hundreds and hundreds of people jostling to get in. Well, I think really you're in touch with lads of your own age around the village, and you get talking. Kitchener's posters plastered everywhere, his face and his finger pointing like that. Your king and country needs you. So, of course, we decided to walk into St Albans the next morning. I think it was the next morning, anyway it was the 7th, I know it was my mother's birthday. The recruiting sergeant started the usual dribble. Age, eyesight, illness, here's your shilling, you remember the British Army now. What they call the King's shilling at that time. Well, I had no uniform at all, I was just civilian things. Bowler hat, walking stick, overcoat. It seemed ridiculous, but so the weather was a bit chilly, you know, in December, that time of day.
So then I went to the recruiting office, and I joined up. I falsified my age. I said I was a year older. I had my hair cut, and cut like a criminal, a convict.
Brother Bertie went away to do his bit the other day with a smile on.
When I left school in 1910, I immediately joined the Territorials. It was the sort of thing to do in those days. Everyone knew there was going to be, or thought there was going to be a war with Germany sooner or later, and everybody was feeling intensely patriotic. And when you left school, anyway, all in my social sector, all joined the Territorials at once.
Goodbye, goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eyes.
I applied for commission, and the colonel interviewed me, and I only had one question. What school did you go to? So I told him the state school. He said, I think you better work your way up through the ranks.
city of Sheffield raised a battalion recruited exclusively from the university, the professions, and people in white-collar jobs.
Our battalion was composed of 1,000 of the elite of Sheffield, well, 999 of the elite of Sheffield and me. And it was composed of real educational people. We'd professors, university students, teachers.
Doctors, dentists, opticians, solicitors, accountants, bank officials.
University people and schoolmasters and people we'd known as boxers and wrestlers and all this, footballers.
These men, they've all got a mind and a will of their own, but in about 3 months of squad drill, form fours, right turn, about turn, left wheel, quick march, stand there, and in, as I say, 2 or 3 months, they've no mind of their own. All they do is, when a whistle blows, they climb out of the trenches and walk forward to almost certain death.
What a wonderful body, men. All professional men, not professional soldiers. But by God, when they got in the trenches, they behaved like professional soldiers.
Oh, when the war broke out, we was at Scarborough, Wednesday I think it was, and next day we saw these reservists on the way up to the barracks which were just above. And somehow or other we thought we'd seen the war going to be over in about 6 months. It's a good chance to have a decent holiday, so we came home and we all went down to Leeds and joined the cavalry. Lovely 6 months holiday it was. Yeah.
Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary.
The decision to launch a massive attack in the countryside of the Somme was made to relieve pressure on the French army, to make a breakthrough for the cavalry, and to enable the British to fight side by side with their allies. Unfortunately, Sir Douglas Haig, the British commander-in-chief, could not have chosen worse ground on which to launch his attack. The untried and hastily trained volunteers, the pals, chums, church lads, tradesmen, sportsmen, commercials, tramways, railways, and warehousemen's companies were taken to France to advance on ridges where highly professional German troops were well dug in after spending months strengthening their front line. The Big Push, as the British called it, would end the stalemate of trench warfare and lead to victory. 500,000 men were sent to the Somme to prepare for the impending battle, which was to begin with a massive artillery bombardment.
Before the attack, while the bombardment was on, and we saw what was happening to the enemy front lines, we all had our tails up. We thought nothing could have survived that bombardment.
When we saw the bombardment the Germans were getting from Goncourt, we saw there was a chance of getting our own back, and everybody was wildly enthusiastic about it. Matter of fact, those attending sick parades every day, it was noticeable they reduced very much to all the battalions of the 56th Division. Nobody wanted to miss it.
Pack up your troubles in your own kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
The men who outlived the Somme and came safe home are now in their late 80s or 90s. To make this film, we took some of them back to the villages where they were billeted or the battlefields where they fought. Harry Demain was a private on the first day, a battalion runner carrying messages between headquarters and the front line at Thiepval.
The last time I was here, I was only 19 years of age, I was with the 6th Battalion, Duke of Wellington's Regiment, in the 49th Division, and we held a position just in front of the Thiepval Wood. The lighter shade of green you see in the distance there was the original British front line.
Victor Rand joined up just after leaving school, aged 17, and had been over the top in earlier battles of the war.
Well, this is the old front line trench, and the parapet was there and the parados behind us. And this is what they called a traverse, which prevented direct fire along there and also prevented any damage to people on that side if a shell dropped here, you see. And the fire step ran along here. It was probably built up a bit more than this. And so you could get a quick jump over the top if you had to go forward.
Norman Tennant was a signaller with the artillery in the Ancre Valley, aged 19, serving the guns bombarding Thiepval.
When the attack started on the 1st of July, it was an amazing sight to see the whole of the German trenches simply covered, blotted out, with a terrific storm of flashes, smoke, debris going up. And we thought that nothing could possibly live after all that love.
The 7-day bombardment, which preceded the British attack, was meant to smash the dugouts where the German machine gunners sheltered, knock out the enemy's artillery, and cut the barbed wire in front of the German trenches. The British guns were almost wheel to wheel for 18 miles.
Because the artillery bombardment, which had lasted for about a week, was so terrific. It was in fact so loud that you could hear it in London, and it had gone on for a very long time, and everybody assumed, quite reasonably I think, that there'd be nobody left in the German trenches. But that was far from it. The bombardment, although it had been so terrific and lasted for so long, seemed to have had no effect whatever.
Hush! Here comes a whiz bang. Hush! Here comes a whiz bang.
We were led to believe by higher-ups that the big bombardment that had happened over the days and nights for perhaps a week or more had obliterated all them.
1,508,652 shells were fired, of which 2/3 contained shrapnel intended to cut the German barbed wire. It was the biggest bombardment in history, and it was a failure. Shrapnel was dozens of lead bullets packed into a shell and timed to explode in the air.
It's difficult to understand how people could imagine that these little round balls, which are lead, could destroy this barbed wire, which was used in such huge quantities in front of the German trenches.
He said, you'll find the barbed wire in front of the German trench blown away. Blown away, nothing of the sort. That was as solid as anything. That was the whole trouble. Wrong information.
The man responsible for the detailed planning of the attack, General Sir Henry Rawlinson, had almost blind faith in the effectiveness of the artillery bombardment, but no confidence in the skills of the volunteer army. He assured his corps commanders that after the bombardment there would be very little resistance from the Germans. And contrary to the British Army's standard assault tactics in which the men had been trained, he issued orders that they must advance across no man's land at a walking pace.
Oh, wash me in the water that you washed your dirty daughter in, and I shall be whiter than the whitewash on the wall.
On June the 30th, the Corps Commander made a speech, about we were superior in arms, in artillery and everything. And by the time our artillery had finished bombarding their trench and we went over, we'll be more or less on a picnic. What a lot of bullshit it all.
A few days before the attack, we were all massed in the battalion for a talk for an inspection by some major general or other. I don't know his name. And he said, we're a smart lot of lads and we're sure we'll do our duty to the king and country, but we hadn't really nothing to worry about. It was just a case of walking over without any trouble. There'd be no opposition at all. They had to go over without rushing, just go over slowly, take the time, as if they were going on a Sunday afternoon walk in a park.
The man who visited us was Sir Douglas Haig, and he says, boy, there won't be a rat alive within 5 miles of Bolton Town. We didn't get over trenching, none of us hardly. That was what he said. That was the night before.
Came and addressed us. Said, you'd no need to worry. You'd no need to worry. The Germans have no food and there's no ammunition. All you do is go straight forward. But of course, when we get over the top, the Germans are going to come on, tell me we're waiting for you.
I don't remember what he said much, but he told us everything would be straightforward, nothing to stop us, all the wire would be cut, and it would be simply a walk-through.
We were told to walk over. Walk. Which in itself was stupid. See? And, but then again, that was the orders. And you had to go over in a line, walking, with your arms at port, like that. That was a stupid idea, but still we had to do what we were told.
Whether they did this on purpose, say how lucky we were and with nothing to fear, whether they did it just to cheer us up or whether they really thought they were correct or not, I don't know. But they made a huge mistake, wicked mistake, no doubt about that.
Another crucial element of the battle plan was to blow up some strong German positions which could be mined from below no man's land. Huge charges of high explosive would be detonated just before 0 hour.
They were all miners, all of them. We'd all been, and we were mates at home. We played in the same football teams or opposite football teams. Everybody knew everybody. We worked in twos and threes. And you got closer to each other.
The blowing of the mine at the Hawthorne Redoubt 10 minutes before 0 hour was the final confirmation for the Germans that the attack was about to begin. Those vital 10 minutes gave them the advantage in the race to the parapet. Whichever side failed to reach the German parapet first would lose the battle. The Germans would be bombed with hand grenades before they emerged from their dugouts. The British would be shot down in no man's land by machine gun fire. Unfortunately for the Tommies, they had not been told that a race was on. The British high-explosive shells had not been powerful enough to penetrate the 30-foot dugouts. Now, as the barrage lifted, the Germans could rush to the surface, get their machine guns into position, and be ready for the British infantry walking slowly towards them.
If we'd gone at the charges we should have done, as we always were trying to do, instead of walking, we'd have got all his men in his front line, because I got right across to their front line before I saw a German, you see.
And I put down my survival to the fact that I was first over the top and got almost as far as the German trenches before anything happened.
Even if the British Tommies had known that they were in a race against death, it would have been difficult for them to run. They were each carrying at least 66 pounds of equipment.
We moved off on June the 30th, you know. Took us all night to get afternoon and evening to get into proper place. And we just rested. And no wonder we wanted to rest, because I was carrying full kit, blanket in the pack, a rifle, grass helmet, a full-size navvy's pick across my shoulders, the heft down my back. And 200 rounds of ball ammunition and 20 mils of bombs. It was too much. You thought we should have been mules, you know, not normal human beings. Should have been mules. And we got it. That's where we moved to the trenches then. We had to jump out of the trenches with that. I was not only did I carry my own 20 bombs, but I collected 2 bags of 20 each from one fellow that was wounded, another fellow that went down with shell shock. And I went in with 60 bombs. I was a moving arsenal. But a bit of shrapnel would have shot me off into the clouds.
The First World War was the first industrialized war. Machines made the weapons that the war was fought with, and it also made weapons that were machines. The most important of these machines was the machine gun. Like a lathe or a pressing machine, all it required to function was a supply of semi-prepared parts, which were fed through its mechanism at a rate of perhaps 600 pieces a minute, and a little human attention to move it from side to side or up and down. And so the machine gunner was really a sort of machine minder, a man whose business was automatic killing.
Well, I had the chance, whilst I was advancing, we came to a road that was at an angle to our advance, and every man who stepped on that road and tried to cross was shot down. It was obvious they had a machine gun, a fixed machine gun, firing down the road, probably more than one, and a man would go down, hit. I noticed as I was approaching, and within a few seconds he just represented a mound of bloody cloth with fabric flying off, and no longer looked like a human being at all. It was just a machine that acted as a cutting machine.
Anyway, we got to about 300 yards, the machine gun started, and that was it. Everybody just seemed to vanish.
And all they did was to wait down there until our barrage lifted. And then up they come, you see, and they were in position just to have some target practice, which it was.
Oh, it was a terrible day. The lads laid all over it. It was terrible to see them. They laid like sheaves of corn in a harvest field. It's terrible, it was.
When this naughty war is over, oh, how happy I shall be. When I get my civic clothes on, no more soldiering for me. No more church parades on Sunday. No, want to be a soldier.